What's up, guys? Welcome back. Major moment in Blue Lock. Itoshi, Sei, and Rin, and Sei's nutmegs him, like destroys him. You can never surpass me. Big panelist, like you're kind of drawing three characters. So we'll start with Rin because everything kind of revolves around him. Sei is kind of dancing around him. So Rin is kind of in the middle. And his head's up here real small. So we're trying full body for this. So start with his nose, and his hair is like coming over his eye. But we'll go with this sort of nose line. Out and then in. It's kind of like a letter L. And then a nostril there. Can't see his brow because his hair covers, right? So we'll just go down the face for now. We got his like top lip there, and then his bottom lip, like so. And we come out for the chin, around, back into the jaw, which kind of joins his neck, but we'll come back to that because they don't draw in the jaw itself. So just at this point of the mouth, we get like a top lip line, some teeth, and then a bottom lip line because he's kind of like mouth open in shock sort of thing because his brother is absolutely destroying him. So again, his eye is like in behind his hair in here. So we'll draw maybe just the disc first of his iris, this kind of, it's an ellipse really. Very sort of thin, right? And he's kind of in shock, right? So it kind of looks weird because it's just like a pupil, but his top eyelid line goes this way, I think. So I'm not sure if that's like his eyebrow or what, but you can see like his spiky eyelid line there, kind of comes underneath there then, and then they have that line of spiky little eyelashes, the little triangles down there. So like you could finish the eye if you want, but there isn't really any need because of the way the hair sort of comes across the face here. So you'll just like, it's just black ink in the manga, but excuse me. So going that way, you know, kind of like cuts off his eye a bit. Goes back that way, right? So it's all just kind of black in there. So we've got like hair spikes just kind of coming around here and then up his head. Okay, I'm gonna just stay going with these. and then they go back around. So there's all just little spikes coming out the back here. And just keep adding the hair spikes. And we can see like a bit of his ear in here. Kind of looking at the side of it, so it's kind of tricky to draw things like that. Right, and then this goes that way to there. Sorry about the noise now in the background. Everyone's decided. I think that's a neck muscle. There's like some sweat on his face. Back of his neck kind of follows this hairline here. Right, and then his like back comes down this way. Joins a shoulder muscle there. And then this comes down. So this is kind of tricky now. So it's actually a really, really, really cool drawing. It's just like so slick, like the lines in it. So that's like the shoulder line. You can't see collars or anything because it's just black. You can see an arm going this way. Jersey sort of stops there, right? The sleeve. And he has a captain's armband on, I think, there. And then the back curves. This way. And it goes quite long, and he's kind of like, you know, he's crouched down trying to see what Sei is doing. So this jersey comes over his like hip, and then the inside of his body this way, drawn very sort of simply, right? So we get the like contours first, and then we'll add the details. So like his elbow sticks out here. I love the way he does stuff like this. He does just like little dots. Like for I'm not that good at it, but he does, on the elbows, like he does like a little dot to show sort of the fold of the elbow or something. It's really cool, like very fine details like that. And then the black and the gray, right, section where it says his name in here. So it says Rin in there, but I'll come back to that. And there's a black section around there. And then the elbow on this side. So it's like tricep, elbow, bicep, and forearm. Very elongated limbs. He does like little things like this, just to show where the elbow bone is, like just little dots, like subtle but very, very cool. And then his black shorts here, so it's just all black in here. Can't see seams of anything, but if that's his spine, like you should have maybe a little seam that way. The leg goes behind his hand, so it kind of comes out down that way. And like his calf muscle goes down to his ankle. Like that. And there's a hand in here. And boots and stuff. But I'll just get, maybe I'll get his other calf muscle in first. And then I'll zoom in for hand and boots. Right, so hand, kind of just flat sort of hand here. And it's just like palm facing down, right? So this is like his thumb as well. So right beside that shorts area. Okay, so then the pinky fingers kind of go that way. You've got like little wrinkles for the palm of his hand. 2 more fingers, 3 more fingers, like that. And then there, and then each finger line going down that way, very, very thin. Palm of the hand lines just drawn in like that. Right, and that's kind of the best I can do with that hand now, I think. Okay, so boots, right, one outstretched here, like dug into the ground, both of them basically. So like the heel there, and then the back of the heel, you know, as it wraps around, if you've ever worn football boots. Right, so kind of there, so your Achilles tendon is like at that part, and then this comes down that way. Down there. So a little boot shape there. It's kind of difficult to draw these because, you know, they're bent, sort of like they're compressed because of the way his feet are and the laces and everything. Right, so we're kind of this. And then the studs are... I don't know, how does he get such detail in them when they're so small? It's so cool the way he does, the way he draws. Very, very impressive drawing style. Another one there. Okay, I am not doing that justice, but you know, there's so much detail, even just in the boots, like mental. And there's all these lines like here. We would do Rin's number and his name on the back, and then we'll try and do say. So that's like even, this is like a hard drawing even so far. And the next part's very even harder. So we go 10. It's kind of like a real blocky 10. And then R. R-I-N. Now, so I thought about like just doing maybe the Rin on the right and then not including the sort of after image of him that's like here, but we can't, I couldn't do that. So, of say, sorry, not Rin. So he's like doing a sort of a nutmeg thing. So like in here, the ball goes through here from like this point. So, and like he's ghosting him. He's like absolutely. So like his body position goes this way and the legs go down. So his head is like Rin is looking at his head basically, kind of. So say his head is here, okay? And then we get the nose kind of here, right? This little sort of S or Z shape. And then the nostril there. And this comes out sort of for the brow, right? So it goes like out that way. And up there for the forehead. And then we can see an eyelash and the eyeball sort of area here, right? So like a dark eyelash coming out this way. And then the eyeball kind of drawn in just here. You may hear a baby crying in the background. God. All right, so the other eye, no pupil or iris in this one, so we just get like the spiky kind of dark eyelid shapes. You know, this kind of thing. And then he has the spiky eyelashes that his brother has as well. Right, and then we got an eyelid line, I think, and then an eyebrow. There somewhere. And then his face shape coming down from the nose then. It's just like a bit of a bump in and out then for his chin. And then his mouth is kind of open. It's standard sort of blue lock sort of type of mouth. Like that kind of. Right, and then his chin sort of goes down his neck, but we get the jawline as well. Very sharp jawline. There. And then just above that we get like hair spikes, right? So he's very spiky hair there, and then the ear comes out from there, I think. And then you may get ear lines on the inside, like that. And then his neck is kind of like stretched out pretty far, so you get like his Adam's apple down there. It goes into his collar then there. Then like his neckline that way. In the back of the neck here. I should try to do his hair now. Very fine sort of hair spikes. Here, and then like a little spike sticking down there. And it goes that way. That's the back of his neck, so then the hair comes down around that way. Okay, and then stay going. Hair spikes coming down around. There's a marathon drawing. So lots of hair spikes coming back then. Down around his neck. And there's like some texture lines and stuff. Going that way. And then we have his Japan jersey. So he's got a collar here. And his body, his back to his hips, and then his legs go the opposite way. So it's his collar, right? So his shoulder out, down this way, goes behind a knee, and then his back goes like this way, off the page, right? And his other arm going up. Get the general shape for this now. It's like the shoulder, and like his chest is here. Okay, he's like a thin sort of character. And then this arm, so everything gets kind of movement and energy and stuff. So there's, you can draw things kind of hairy from here on out if you want. The anime or the manga artist does that. Kind of adds like speed lines to everything, sort of, you know, like all this kind of. But you don't have to do that, of course. It's probably easier to just do like little lines like that if you want. So that's his arm, and then his like jersey sort of comes over his hip, and then his thigh goes this way. So he's doing like a like a flick, I suppose you'd say. So this leg is forward here, and the other one comes underneath. So like that's his shorts, right? And then like his knee here, and like his thigh going underneath this way. Okay, so this leg is planted sort of firmly. There in top of his socks. There with a black line, but everything's kind of moving, so if you wanted to do sketchy movement lines, you can. And then he's sort of taken off that way, so. Right, so the other leg now, so it's like, now this one is like drawn quite like this, dashes, because it's movement, and they're trying to, he's trying to give the effect of the movement, you know. This boot, so this boot is drawn. You could sketch it with pencil and then do your ink lines if you wanted, or you could try and do this for the general shape, right? So it's done this. Lots of hatching. You could just do a normal line if you didn't want to try and deal with the movement of a boot, you know. So it's like an after image kind of thing. Like even the circles are done. It's so ridiculous. It looks like it's 3D. It looks like he's used a printer like to do that. It's kind of cool. Right, and then there's like a POW, like a little comic book zigzag thing coming out here from the boot, and it like takes off this way into the ball, which is like then over there. So that's probably difficult, but hopefully I gave you a good idea how to do it. Right, and then here the foot is out kind of delicate. It looks like a ballerina dance, kind of pointed. Right, very sort of pointy that way. The laces even. Just like the more you look what this guy, how this guy draws, like the more impressed you are. So cool. This is like one of the best manga drawings I've ever tried to draw, and I'm like just like, even those laces are just so like clearly drawn. So cool. Anyway, I'm like geeking out over the drawing as I'm drawing it. So It's ridiculous. Right, and his like after image is here, but I'll do maybe like some of the stripes on his jersey and some of the numbers, you know, some of the details before I move on. Wait, does that go around his? Maybe. That's all sort of zigzaggy, but we'll just draw this stuff kind of straight. It's like Japan flag, crest, number 10 of the opposite team. Alrighty. Now, so his twin, the other guy who has taken off in front of Sei. So you're doing this again, but over here and an arm up in front, right? So we start with the nose again. Kind of like an L. Pointy sort of L here. Right, and then the nostril. There, and then it goes out the top to make it kind of look like a Z sort of shape there. How many people are still drawing? So then his lip sticks out here. And then the chin comes down this way. And then this comes back there. All right. So his chin is kind of pointy down here. And then his mouth again is kind of in this open position. Sort of small, you know. Everything's kind of like, everything gets a bit blurry now. Okay, and this comes up to his forehead. That way. Right, we can see some big eyelashes sticking out here. And then his other eye kind of has fire coming out of it. And there's all these shading effects and stuff, so we'll do our best with that. So we'll start with the top eyelid line. A spiky. And then there's like white fire or something coming from this, right? So it's like electricity, kind of like. You could do this with a white pen if you wanted afterwards, but I think I will just sort of draw it in here first. It's very thin. And then it looks like the spike for his bottom eyelid comes down here. This is intense. We're nearly there though, we're getting there, we're close. So like he's got like another sort of line there, and then the eyelashes kind of come off. way. And then his eyebrow. Going back pretty far there. Right, everything gets kind of blurry now. So we've got like his hairline kind of sticking out here, right? And it starts to get like an after image kind of situation. So it gets, you know, very sort of hatching, lots of scratchy sort of lines. There's no, nothing is explicitly drawn, I guess, would be the way to say it. His shoulder kind of maybe is a bit here. But his ear is like very... And there's hair sort of there, I think. And then we'll try and do some hair spikes out here. And then it all gets like this, like all the, any details back in here, they get like very sort of hatching, blurry sort of. So everything in this figure is like movement and blurriness. So his hand is like all sort of sketchy as well. And I'll do the hand so we get the fingers here. Right, just like a flat sort of hand that way. And then his pinky kind of going that way, and he's got like a red disc or something in there. Right, his knee then coming out here, drawn like this. Everything sort of blurry drawing. And then what we can see back here is not much. So this is supposed to be his back. and this hand is just blurry, real blurry, and then this leg is like that way, and then his boot here barely visible. And then I think we can see the football. So like just like a circle. Use a compass or a stencil for circles if you're looking to make them perfect. And then those patterns and shapes. The patterns in like the football itself are quite difficult, so you know, I'll just do kind of quick because we get the idea, and it's kind of moving as well. Yeah, there is all speed lines and stuff on it, movement lines. Right, that was a long drawing. Oh my god. What was helpful? I love that drawing though, the panel's great. See you in the next one.